Let me tell you why I love Anchor. Like, seriously, everybody knows, that who listens to my podcast, that I'm a newbie. And I haven't had my podcast that long. But the reason why I love Anchor is because one, it's so easy. It's free and everybody love free. There's creation tools that you can record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. I'm always on my phone. Even if I'm on the go, I can record my podcast. I can edit my podcast. They distribute to all the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Like, they do all of that for you within the app. You can make money from your podcast, no minimum listenership. Everything you need to know to make a podcast is in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's so easy. Like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. If you're passionate about something, make a podcast. It's so easy. And you can talk all day about whatever it is that you're passionate about. So go ahead and go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey, welcome to That Shit Was Poetic, where we touch on all things poetic, like music, poetry, art, movies, quotes, and famous poets. I'm your host, Nikki. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so guys, we have a special guest today, and this is one of my friends. I actually met him through he taught my son's poetry class. So that's how we got introduced, and you probably should know him from some of his work, but I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Okay, my name is Paul Mabon. I'm an actor and a poet, and I've been in LA since '04. Been a part of a few projects. I'm currently playing Alan on the Progressive commercial campaign.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Well, just look for the black guy. That's me. I'm in the movie Call of the Wild with Harrison Ford, out right now.
Okay, great.
And that's about it so far. Oh, I'm gonna be on Insecure. First episode of the season. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, now you're excited.
Really? Oh,
That's
my
right.
God.
That's right.
Well, you know what? I wanted to tell everyone they should know him from the Progressive commercials, so the Progressive guy, but I wanted you to go ahead and say it, so when does that season start?
I want to say April 5th, I think. Sometime in April.
5th?
No. Sometime in April. It's the first episode of the season. The first one.
Okay, the first episode. Okay, good. Yeah. So I'll be definitely looking forward to seeing you
on that. But don't blink, because
Okay, it's cool. It's cool.
But I'm there. Well, you know what? You just gotta hope they don't make the cutting room floor. So. But yeah, okay. If it works out, I'll be playing the character called Gabe.
Well, let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's get into it. Okay, the first question I have is, what inspired you to get into poetry?
I was a student in high school, junior year, and you have the typical write a poem assignment where we were studying the classics, Shakespeare, sonnets and ballads and so forth. And my English teacher encouraged me to keep writing long after the segment or the portion of the poetry had ended. So I would write poems, and then I would take them to him after class to show him, and he would let me know what he thought. And I never stopped.
Wow.
And I still keep in touch with him to this day.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
That's amazing.
I know, right? Dr. Hooks, Whitney Young High School, Chicago, Illinois.
I don't know too many people who still keep in contact with their, high school or teachers in general. Like, I couldn't tell you any name of any of my teachers.
Oh my gosh. You didn't have a favorite? Come on.
I didn't. To be honest, I didn't have any favorite teachers. I really hated school growing up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's crazy because now I'm like, I want to learn everything. All the things that I didn't like in school, I'm trying to learn now.
I
But
heard that.
so you said you was in high school, so that was around what age?
I was about 16.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hmm.
Teenager, falling in love with poetry. So how would you
Yeah.
say, because you did teach my son in his poetry class, and I'm so grateful for that. How would
Oh.
you say, you know, the poetry that children write is different from, adult writing?
Well, I would say that children use poetry as a way to say how they really feel, which is kind of
Hmm.
what I taught. Um, I used to have them have an alter ego so that it would be more advantageous for them to dive into the persona of their truth. In
Hmm.
other words, they could not hide behind their words, but they could be their words within the poem, be their feelings within the poem.
Right.
So adults, on the other hand, they tend to use a lot of metaphor and try to hide what's really going on.
Right.
So, because we're taught as adults to hide our feelings, crying is weak, and emotions are for people who can't control themselves or whatever. But as a child, they're more apt to just say what's on their mind. You ever have a conversation with a child? They just say the purest form of truth.
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
yeah, right. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's way too much.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, I dealt with a lot of kids who had a lot to say, but were at that age where they just didn't know if they should say it. And I taught them to not necessarily write to show anybody, but just write for them because
Hmm.
we'll drive ourselves crazy if we have our thoughts swirling around in our head trying to figure out
Right.
something.
Right.
But
Get
if
it all out.
get it all out, whereas adults, we don't get anything out. We just go to therapy.
Right. Right. And some people don't even do that. So
Right,
I think it's
right.
becoming more popular, but that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
I would definitely take some of that as far as using an alter ego. I never really thought about it that way in writing, but
Hmm.
that's a good idea. Maybe I can create some new pieces trying it that way.
Well, you know what? The idea is to just to be who you are.
Hmm.
It's like once you grow older, you realize you really don't need that alter ego. You kind of just say, "This is who I am, and this is
Right.
what I have to say."
Right.
It's harder when you're a lot younger because you're searching for approval and you're going through angst, and you know what happens when you're kids.
So let me ask you a question. When you write, is it something usually like that happens in your life, or you just one of those writers that just writes like on a daily?
No, I'm actually the first. I am experience driven. So if
Hmm.
something happens, I'll just kind of like say the first line of a poem that I didn't even know I was going to write. Like for
Okay.
instance, I just put on Facebook not too long ago. If you want your phone to ring, go in the bathroom and take a bath.
Mm, mm,
and like a bunch of people commented on it, and it's like, oh wow, I've struck a chord with something that's universal, and
right.
maybe I can explore that or not. But most of the time, it just starts off with one sentence.
Okay.
Like I wrote a poem that was centered around dating and communicating with people, with women through text messages and phones instead of face to face. So
That's interesting.
I know. Yeah, it was very interesting because you see a lot on Facebook, dear future husband and dear future husband and dear future
Right.
husband. And it's like I just got tired of seeing all these people, women saying dear future husband when they could just pick up the phone instead of sending me an Instagram or you
Right. And
know,
it's kind of hard to, go off of how somebody, like, what they really meant through a text message. Like,
right.
so that's good.
Well, it takes an average of 11 messages before your idea gets across. So,
Right.
you know,
Hmm.
yeah, believe you me, it ain't easy.
So, do you participate in any poetry slams or, doing live speakings of your work?
I used to. When I
Okay.
moved here, I competed at the poetry slam at the Poetry Lounge on Fairfax and Melrose. They have a reading every Tuesday night, and it's called the Greenway Court Theater, and it's Dove Poetry Lounge, DA Poetry Lounge, and they have a reading that starts at 9 o'clock, and you kind of compete. They have a slam actually this Tuesday.
Okay.
So yeah, I used to do that, and then I kind of ventured off into teaching and things like that.
Wow. That's amazing.
Hmm.
I've never really been the type to share my poetry with the world. The most I've done was
Hmm.
like probably posted on Instagram here and there, but
Hmm.
I've
Hmm.
never had the courage enough. So this is like my first time just branching out and trying something new. It's
Mm.
2020. Let's try something new.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
um, how would you describe your poetry?
My poetry is interactive and comedic, and it always has a twist or a turn. So it's very conversational.
Okay.
So, like, if I'm in the poem and I ask you a question, I really want you to answer, as
Right.
opposed to just I sit here and you say it, you sit here and then listen to me say a poem. And it's just, I want it to be an interactive experience where you think you're inside the poem and you're sharing my experience. We go
Okay.
through it together.
Something that make you think and want to be a part of it.
That's right. We're gonna have an argument, both of us.
It's almost like acting, isn't it?
Well, yeah, my influence is theatrical. I took my poetry writing skills from high school, and when I got to college, I did a lot of plays and theater. So it just naturally combined the two. I
Right.
naturally combined the two, and my style became more theatrical and interactive. So I listened to a lot of comedy albums growing up, and everything just kind of meshed together, and voila.
Amazing, amazing.
Have you ever seen Def Poetry Jam?
I did years ago. I
Years
years
ago.
ago I did. I did. I used to
Well,
watch that.
well, check out that guy from Progressive if you can.
It should be on YouTube, right?
Right? Yeah, it
Okay.
should be. Yeah.
Cuz I don't think they really air it anymore.
Oh no, no,
Some
no! It's long gone. It's long gone. I just have the episode that I was on.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah. Hmm.
So I'm gonna definitely, maybe if you find that link, you can slide it to me and I can check that out,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. So
Sounds good.
will you have time to read something today for us?
Sure, why not? You gonna read it with me? You gonna be in it? You gonna be part of it?
I mean, why
Yeah,
not?
yeah, yeah. Okay. Why not? Why not? It'll be fun.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
You are you ready?
I'm definitely ready.
Okay. This poem is titled "Eggplants, Peaches, and Water."
Hmm. Eggplants, peaches, and water.
That's right.
Okay, guys. Bunch of things come to my mind, but okay.
Okay. Here we go. Dear future wife, if you listening, you ain't my future wife. You a Gen Xer with millennial tendencies. Don't believe me? Raise your hand if you go to church. Now keep it up if you know how to twerk. I'm
Hmm.
talking to you, dear future wife. Do you hear me, nigga?
I definitely hear you.
Well, get your life. Stop going to all white, grown, and sexy clubs. Angle, selfie, and me. You over 40. Duck face and butterfly filters. Give me something round to hold. You think I'm sounding old?
No, not at all.
Well, guess what? If I'm old, you old. 7 times a day, we both say, babe, where are my glasses? But you can't
Mm,
see. You can't see. We don't speak. We can't even eat until you take a picture of the food.
that part.
Just be in the mood for this moment. Put the phone down. Own it. I'm not trying to read you. I just need you. For
Mm.
real. Diana Krall peeled the grape cutter rose and made us tea with its petals. If that's ghetto, what's classy? Repeat after me. Eggplant.
Eggplant,
Peaches.
peaches,
Water.
water.
You nasty.
Oh.
How do I love thee? Every kiss begins with K. Coulda, shoulda, woulda had a Gen Z sooner like the boomers, but as long as the first thing you grab and like in the morning ain't us, dear future wife, trust. If you listening, you ain't my future wife yet. Network socially in person, and the church said amen.
Amen.
Raise your hand if you believe that emojis are the devil's work. Then, and only then, if you still really want to, twerk.
Let that poem sink in. That shit was poetic. Hmm.
Yay.
Wow. I
Wow,
love that. I really, really
did you,
love that.
you
Because
did.
I really, really did. You know, it's the type of poem that can definitely grab this generation.
Mm, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm.
the selfies and the put your phone down and the text messaging and the can't, gotta take a picture of your food.
Oh yeah.
That
Every
part.
single meal. I you know how people they don't even text now. They just talk into their phones and it types out everything.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I was dating somebody that sent me like paragraphs and paragraphs of text messages. Well, stop
Instead
talking
of instead of just picking up the phone.
instead of just picking up the phone. And it's like, do what you want, but I'm not doing it. I mean,
Right,
it's just that's just
right.
not how you get to me. It's just not because I don't know. What do you think?
I think 2020, like, it's so hard to just have a decent conversation with someone.
Hmm.
It's hard to keep the engagement going.
Hmm.
It's just hard to communicate, period, with people nowadays. I mean, friendships and dating and
Well, yeah,
all the above.
everything is designed to communicate indirectly. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to you don't have to actually talk to a person when you get a hotel or Airbnb.
Right.
You what else? You don't have to talk to get your food. You could just have somebody drop it off to you. It's already paid for. All of the social interactions of ordering and things that are like person to person are just non-existent.
Right. Right. Everything. It's just disappearing.
And the sad part is our children are growing up like this.
Exactly.
It's and the effects are yet to be known. The effects are yet to be known because their social skills suffer tremendously because they spend most of the time trying to explain themselves when people don't understand what they mean. You know what I mean? It's like,
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because I've recently tried to get my son to interact with his friends, hanging out, and I'm taking him to different functions, and it just seems like the kids, they don't know how to socialize if they don't have their phone in their hand.
right. And when they're in a
So,
social atmosphere, what's the first thing they do? Take out
right, looking down at the,
they take out
yeah,
their phone. That's why
yeah,
they ban phones at concerts because you're not even watching the concert. You're just too busy trying to record it. And what's really
right.
interesting is that you don't even watch the recordings. You just post them. And when's the last time
Facts.
you watched a full length concert on somebody's Instagram or Facebook? Nobody. It's just. I mean, I get it. It's exciting, but life is about experiences,
Right.
or at least it should be.
I'm guilty of all the above. I try to do
Yeah,
better, but I'm
but
definitely guilty.
we come from a generation that has frame of reference. You know what I mean? We know what it's like to talk person to person interpersonally, whereas kids don't know what it's like to talk. Half of them don't even drive, if you really think about it,
Right.
and their excuses of driving. So it's like they're totally reliant on other people for everything. And it's like there should be a study or something done to see the long-lasting effects of that because they're knows how do you get to know somebody? How do you get to know somebody for real when you're just hopping from dating app to dating app, swipe?
I think it's just important, as parents, like we just keep trying to keep that, social life going and
Well,
try to break
right.
away from the phone for a little while. So I'm definitely gonna start focusing more on just trying to break my son
Well,
away.
that's what was special about him in terms of his poetry, because when I taught him, he came out that shell. He was great. You were there. You were
Yeah,
there.
he definitely did. He definitely did.
Yeah. Yep. He came out that shell.
So let me so let me ask you another question. It's like my final question. If you could give advice to someone who was afraid to step into their creative side, what would it be?
Face your fear. Face your fear. A lot of people don't do it because they think, especially with poetry, they think that it's about getting in front of people and somebody else has to read their poem or whatever. But poems are for the individual. They're not for anyone else. Now, if you happen to share it, that's possible. That's a possible way you could affect or help someone else's life. But ultimately, it's self-therapy. We talked about therapy
Right.
earlier. What does the therapist do? All it gets you to do is talk about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you
Absolutely.
could do that on a piece of paper, it just really it really does the work. Does the work that people pay for. It's crazy. It's crazy because the thing is that we don't want to admit it. When you go to a therapist, they get you to say stuff that you don't want to admit. But if we would just
Mm-hmm.
admit what we're really going through without the fear of actually having to show it to somebody, we could really help ourselves. So that way we can help ourselves step out of our creative shells.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. That's something to think about
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
You got my mind like
I I
it's like a
I
little
hear I
ball.
hear you thinking. I hear you. Mm-hmm.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me this time and blessing my podcast, with your
No
talent,
problem.
your poetry talent.
No problem. Hey, come to the auditions. I'm having auditions for a poetry show I'm putting together.
When?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. It's Saturday, April 5th. Is it Saturday or
Okay.
Sunday? Let me see. It is. One second. One second.
What's your Instagram? First of all, what's your Instagram so people out there can
Oh,
know,
that's right. Follow
follow
us.
you?
P Mabon. So P is in Paul, M is in Mary, A is in Apple, B is in boy, O is in ostrich, N is in Nancy. So at P.
Okay.
And the auditions are Sunday, April 5th from 2 to 4:30. And there's a flyer on my Instagram
Okay.
that shows it's at the Crenshaw Mall in the community room downstairs near Sears. So yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fairly
well,
close to
there
me.
you go. There you go.
Okay,
You gonna be
well,
there?
the
You better be
world
there.
out there can hear this and hopefully we'll get them auditions. I will try to bless your audition and slide
Slide on
on
through.
through. So again, what can we see Paul Mavon on and what can we expect from you?
Well, I think Insecure is the next thing I'm doing.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm just auditioning this pilot season. You know, this pilot season.
Okay.
So, but yeah, and then a movie later on in the year called oh God, it was a horror movie. I was in a horror movie. It's called
Horror is my favorite
well, this
genre of
changes
movies.
everything.
So,
No, it
okay.
was called Malignant with James Wan. He's the director of Aquaman. So that'll be out. That'll be out in August.
Okay.
You can see me. You get to
Okay,
see
good.
me live. I live. Black man live.
The black man
That's what I'm
lives.
talking about. Support your black business.
That part.
Right?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you were able
I'm
to
alive.
again give me this time and calling it. So we definitely appreciate you. So thanks for calling in, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you at the
Yeah,
audition
sure.
and looking forward to your
All
next
right. I will see
projects.
you Sunday. Unless all right.
Okay,
Talk to you
great.
later. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye. So thanks for tuning in to That Shit Was Poetic. I'm your host, Nikki, and tune in every Friday for new episodes. To check out some of our old episodes, follow us on whatever music streaming service you're listening on, Spotify, Google, iTunes, whatever. And leave us your comments or send us a voice message. I will really love that. On Anchor, you can download the app and listen and also comment. You can also be added to one of our podcasts if that day comes. So definitely follow us and listen every Friday. Thanks, guys, for listening.